Hey guys, happy Friday. What is up? Welcome back to another episode of AKP Sports Talk. It's RM Korea. Look, we're just gonna get right into it. Last night, I cannot believe that this under did not hit. But at the same time, the under didn't even hit in the first half. But like I did put out some leans, and one of my leans was the Patriots +6. So that did cash. But I'll do a quick recap of mine yesterday. First with the Steelers and Patriots under. Look, I'm not going to take too much time. I didn't watch a single look at this game, but all I saw was that Bailey Zappi was turning into the next Tom Brady, and that's all I needed to know. That's all I needed to know. Then going to Iowa State -6.5, 7.5, whatever you took that number at, they won by 25. This was a simple spot of fading Iowa. Iowa has one of the worst offenses on the road, in the Big Ten, and just in general away from home. And they barely shot 40% on the afternoon. Iowa State at home just shot the lights out. They beat them by 25. So it was a pretty sweat free win. I saw everyone on Iowa +8, and I after seeing how I backed this Iowa team not even a few days ago, and they just did not show up in the first half on the road. I knew this team was going to have trouble going in a true road environment, rivalry game on the road. So that was nice to see Iowa State win as well. So Steelers Pats, I'm not going to delve too much. I didn't watch the game, and then Iowa State -6.5. Great day, 1-1. We'll take those. Ari, we'll go into yours. How'd you do yesterday?
Yeah, 2-0. The Allen Robinson, the very, very last play of the game. I mean, obviously there's luck there, but I said that all it takes is one catch for him to hit this line. And, obviously it was basically, not garbage time because it was one possession game, but, you're going to get some of those go your way, and then you're going to get some of those go against you in that kind of same fashion. So obviously you take it when you can. And then the Lakers was, as sweat free as they can get. They were up by 40 or like 39 after the third quarter. And now it should be a fun one. Lakers, Pacers in the finals. You have the more younger team versus, LeBron, Anthony Davis, and the Lakers. So that should be a fun matchup on Saturday night. But yeah, nice 2-0. One sweat free, one as sweaty as one play can be with Allen Robinson play. But like I said, you're going to get some of those that go against you in that same way and some that go for you, in that way. So you take the wins when you can get them.
Yeah, obviously Allen Robinson, if oh my gosh, just for 59 minutes and 58 seconds of that game, he did absolutely nothing. But then the final 2 seconds, he comes in clutch. So, Ari, like you said, one catch is all it takes. And, didn't for 59 minutes and 58 seconds, didn't really have that catch. But then, finally came when it mattered. So that's all that matters there. And then you mentioned the Lakers. They were up by 30. That was all Lakers all day. They benched all of their starters pretty much at that fourth quarter. So it was as sweat free as you can make it. 2-0 day. As we said, we'll gladly take those sweeps each day we can. But now we're going to get into Friday and this weekend's best bets, obviously. Huge slate for college basketball tomorrow. We got some NBA tonight, and then obviously Sunday commencing with the NFL. I'm going to go straight into mine. Obviously, some of the lines have not been out yet.
Because I only have a Friday play I'll start with my Friday play.
Yeah, let's just go chronologically. Ari, I know you got one today. I see it. What do you like about the Clippers first half -4? Teach us all about it, Ari.
Yeah, just one play tonight. The Clippers coming off a big win over the Nuggets. The game I was on Denver when Jokic had his worst career shooting night was 2 nights ago. Jazz coming off a 50-point loss to Dallas. I think the spread's 7.5 for the full game. I'm just going first half. Get out. Clippers get off to a strong start. And this one, it's at Utah, but Lauri Markkanen's still out for Utah. Clarkson's questionable, so they could be without their 2 best players, or at least one of the 2 best players in Markkanen. The Jazz were kind of a sneaky team, kind of early in some ways. They've kind of or not early, but they've kind of shown their flashes this year when they've had everybody healthy, but they've been banged up with Markkanen out for a little while now. Clarkson was out for a little while. So they've had kind of some of the younger players step in, and they've struggled a little bit. So I'm just going with the Clippers first half, getting it out, carry on their momentum from the win over Denver, and then Utah, whatever the inverse would be that from their 50-point loss to Dallas, whatever that would be.
Yeah, obviously, this is the in between day between the semifinals and the finals of the in-season tournament tomorrow. But obviously, we have some good NBA games today, and then going back to your game, obviously the Clippers and Jazz. I like the Clippers in the spot first half spread -4 on the road in Utah. You mentioned Markkanen and his questionable health. I still like this Clippers team. Just coming off a big win against the Nuggets, as you mentioned at home. Now have to go travel to Utah in this spot. It's been a big system for you get out the first half, and that's going to continue to be our system throughout this season. So we'll like that play. Clippers first half -4 on the night tonight in a pretty ugly slate. I mean, for me, I didn't really have anything today because there's no. I mean, what you think I'm going to bet on Holy Cross and Boston College? And then no NFL obviously, and then no CFB until tomorrow. Obviously, the most patriotic game of the year, Army Navy, and then I don't do NHL. But this is what I'm taking tomorrow. So I have none of these lines yet because obviously no lines have been officially produced yet for college basketball tomorrow. They'll probably be produced sometime later tonight. So I will be having all of these posted plays updated along with their along with the lines. But first, I just like these three teams to win on Saturday. We're going to go to one of my favorite games. Ari, I know you like this pick, Ari. Arizona on the money line tomorrow. I think they should be about -4, maybe 4.5 point favorites at home. Look, I love this team at home. They're the number one team in the country. They're playing like the number one team in the country. And they welcome a Wisconsin team who I think is going to be in a really bad letdown spot. They beat down a good Michigan, debatable good Michigan State team this year. Very horrible offensively. And then obviously one of their key things is their defense. But if you look at that game, Wisconsin won by 13, but Michigan State shot themselves out of the game, and they didn't really look good at all in that game. And Wisconsin kind of escaped with the win, despite shooting the ball, not the greatest. But now they're going to go into pretty much their biggest test of the season, facing the number one team in the country on the road. And I hate this spot for them. Obviously, Arizona, one of the better teams at home. We've talked about Tommy Lloyd and how Ari, you know it best for yourself. The McHale Center is one of the hardest places to get a win. And especially if you're Wisconsin, Gonzaga, whatever team you are, it's hard to win there. And, I can't see Wisconsin winning tomorrow in that environment. I think Arizona's going to win. I think they could cover the spread. I don't know what the spread is obviously right now since we don't have any lines to go off of, but I'm assuming that line will probably be about 4.5 when it comes out later. So I will take Arizona on the line and on the spread as well on the money line, depending on what the spread is. So, I will have those plays updated. And once again, I'll have my full card for Saturday updated and posted later today. But that's my first play. And then going again to one of my favorite games, Clemson. We're going to be riding this Clemson wagon all season. I'm taking them on the money line tomorrow. And they have a pretty interesting game. They're going to TCU. And, it's going to be another true run environment to them. But if this team can beat Bam on the road, I can definitely see this team beating TCU. The one thing I will say, this is going to be a little bit of a struggle because TCU, obviously one of the better shooting teams in the country. They're second in field goal percentage and sixth in points per game. But the one thing I'm kind of depending on for this Clemson team is their defense. And obviously defense does travel. They don't average that many steals. So that is a little bit of concern. But I do like Clemson in the spot. I just think that, defense will travel in the spot. In TCU, they're one of the sneaky teams just offensively, and they just escaped one of the luckiest wins of the season, going to Georgetown and beating them not only by one off of a buzzer beater, circus shot, whatever you want to call it. But I think this is a great spot for Clemson on the road. I think they may be a slight underdog just because TCU is probably obviously one of the better home. But you look at all these differentials, right, for TCU. They've beaten everyone by at least 13 or more, actually by at least almost 20 or more. And the one game that they struggled against was against a formidable opponent in Georgetown because they have not played anyone good from this. They've played Omaha, University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley. Ooh, scary. Mississippi Valley State. Ooh, like you're really scaring us, TCU. And then you barely beat Georgetown by one. It kind of shows, Clemson may be a slight favorite, but I expect them to be an underdog just because it's a true road environment. And obviously, TCU, one of the higher scoring teams, but you look at all these splits, offensively, it's just because they're beating up against bad teams, and they struggle to beat a good Georgetown team on the road. So now I can see a true defensive team in Clemson coming in and stopping that. So I like Clemson tomorrow. And then finally, in my final game, I like UCLA tomorrow. I think they'll be a little bit more of an underdog, so I may just cover them on the points, but I like them on the money line as well. I think they have a good shot to win. This Villanova team, my God, this Villanova team is so much better than what their record is, but I can't trust them anymore. This offense is so anemic. It's so bad. They're a great free throw shooting team. That's always what Villanova prides themselves on, being a great free throw shooting team. But this team just can't win. They're on a 3-game losing streak. I mean, that the loss to K-State with the buzzer beater, and then losing to Drexel at home, losing to St. Joe's at home. I mean, the last good win they had was against Memphis, and then they lost 3 straight. Now, I will say Villanova will probably be a slight favorite, and for good reason, because obviously they're at home, and this UCLA team, I will say, is very young, and they're very a little shaky, and it's hard to really depend on these young rosters, but I feel like this team can keep it close with a team like Gonzaga, and yes, they had a close game at home against UC Riverside, but I think it's just one of those games where their offense just did not show up, and I think maybe in this road spot, where Villanova, obviously one of the better defensive teams, and this is a defensive game. Mick Cronin, obviously a great defensive coach, defensive-minded coach. I can't back Villanova anymore. I would like to back him in this spot, but I just have a feeling you're going to hear one of these crazy wins, maybe a buzzer beater, and UCLA just sneaks out a win on the road at Villanova. It's going to be a crazy Saturday, but I think those 3 plays are great. I like Arizona. That's a safer play for me. I think they're going to be, like I said, -4 to 4.5 point favorites tomorrow. But like I said, the lines haven't come out yet, so we'll see. And then Clemson, I think they could be slight underdogs tomorrow against TCU, but I do like them as well. I think the defense will travel for them. And TCU, they haven't played any good teams yet. And then UCLA, I do like them potentially on the spread or the money line. I think Villanova, their bad luck is just going to keep continuing. I don't see this team, in a battle of defense, and when you need your offense to show up, Villanova's offense has been very, very hit and miss all season. So I like UCLA just to sneak out a win, maybe even cover the points depending on what the spread is on. And like I said, all these lines are going to be updated, today, as we get better lines for all of tomorrow's college basketball slate. So those are my 3 picks for tomorrow's slate. Like I said, today didn't really like anything, so I'm just looking already to tomorrow for those 3 plays. Arizona on the money line, potentially on the spread as well. Clemson, I will probably take on the money line. I do think they might be slight dogs depending on what I see. And then UCLA, I may take them on the spread or on the money line, like I said, depending on what I see. But now we're going to get into Sunday, obviously. Another week of NFL content, another week of NFL games, and here we go. I'm going to go with, I think, Ari, do you have any picks? Actually, let's go to mine. Let's go to mine real quick. My Sunday, I already was looking at these plays all week. I always like to look ahead. I'm going to go first with the Bears plus 3.5. I may sprinkle the money line. Just a little heads up there. But I do like the Bears plus 3.5 in this spot. I think I've been hearing it's a really bad weather game. And last time we saw these 2 teams play between the Bears and Lions, I mean, the Bears were up considerably in Detroit, for a very long amount of time before obviously blowing that lead. But, obviously at home, really bad weather game. I like the Bears to cover in this spot. We saw how very, shaky that Lions defense can be after, giving up a huge lead on the road to the Saints last week. Before, even though they did cash, the -4, they were up by so much more. You didn't really think that they needed the sweat. So I do like the Bears plus 3.5, especially against a team that, they just played not too long ago and, kept it very close and competitive with. So I like, especially in this home spot. And then the Panthers plus 5.5. I know it's ugly. I know it's so ugly. It is disgusting. But hear me out. The Saints are bad, okay? The Saints are a complete mess right now. I mean, their offense, all of their stars are injured for the most part. And then you look at how they just, let the Lions just put up 21 points on that defense. The defense that everyone prides about for New Orleans, in the first quarter. And, it just kind of it's pretty evident to me that that this Panthers team is probably going to come in, obviously be the big dogs and not really have any star momentum. Obviously with everything going on throughout this whole offseason, throughout the season, firing the head coach, right? And they're already eliminated from the playoffs. They're 1-11. Like I said, they've only won one game, but I do like them to cover at this 5.5 spot. It's a divisional game, and that line is already going in the Panthers' favor. I think that was already going down to 5, so I do like the Panthers to cover in this spot. It's ugly, but I do think that it's a great look for one team trying to just fight to end the season on a positive note, and then obviously the other team just trying to survive in that division, in one ugly division. So I would like the Panthers plus 5.5, and then finally what arguably could be the game of the week or the Sunday night game, who knows, or even one of the afternoon games in San Francisco. Wink, wink. But I like the Bills plus 1.5. I think that's a great line. I know it's like 1.5. You're thinking, why don't you just take them on the money line? I think the Chiefs win by 1 here. I don't like either. I don't like either side in terms of the money line because we've seen these two battle before, right? And it's a battle of who wants them more, right? And I think the Bills obviously. They're in a winner. I think the Bills are in a winner go home situation right now. I mean, they're 6-6. They got to win this game to even at least have a chance at making the playoffs before their season does not get any easier. And then for the Chiefs, obviously that bad loss last week, just didn't really get anything going. It's hard for me to say it's hard for me to say that the Chiefs are going to cover that 1.5 points, right? Just because it's only 1.5 points, so they only need to beat them by 1 point or at least 2 points. But like I said, we've seen these two battle before, right? And if one quarterback can drive with 13 seconds on the clock and go down the field, then who's to say this game can end up with a 1 point swing the other way or whatnot. I think the Bills -1 is a great look. The Bills plus 1.5 is a great look. I would not take the money line. I'd stay away from the money line just because I know that the Bills, they find ways to lose sometimes, and whether it's the referees or like I said with the Eagles game where it was a little bit of zebras on the field helping them out. I do like the Bills to cover. I think it's going to be one of the better games this week. It's going to be one of the more exciting games. It may come down to like whether a last-second field goal, but I think it's going to be a 1-point game. I truly do. Excuse me. And I think the Bills do cover the spot at plus 1.5. I think it's going to be a fun game to watch this weekend. So those are my 3 plays. I like the Bills to cover. I like the Bills to cover plus 1.5. I think it's going to be a close game. I mean, like I said, also, that's a great way for a teaser. If you guys don't know what teasers are, obviously teasing that number up, you can tease it up from 1.5 all the way up to 7.5 and then add another play, maybe the Bears as well. I think that's a great teaser as well. I don't see those teams losing by more. The number that's up there, whether it's 3 or 1.5. But I like the Bears as well. I'm also sprinkling them on the money line. I think the Bears have a great shot to win this at home, in a really bad weather game against the team that they just were up, considerably throughout that first half against, not too long ago. And the Panthers, I think it's a great look for them in the divisional spot. The Saints, I believe they're still in injury hell right now. And, it's getting so bad that they're injuring, sideline officials and breaking their legs. So, there's an injury bug all over New Orleans right now. So I do like the Panthers covering this 5.5 point spot. So those are my 3 plays for Sunday. I'm taking the Bears, Panthers, and Bills all to cover. I will add a teaser on Saturday night with the Bills and Bears for you guys as well, just in case you don't like the Bills plus 1.5 or that line does potentially move between tonight and Sunday. But those are my plays for the weekend. Ari, I don't know if that's going to do it for us for this episode. I don't know if you have any plays for Sunday.
I have NFL. Yeah, I have NFL plays. Yeah.
Oh, well, Ari, I'll let you take the floor. Here are your Sunday plays. Ooh, I already see one that I'm liking.
Yeah, I'll start off with the last game we talked about. I'm just going straight on the money line for the Bills. Like you talked about, it's basically an elimination game for them in a sense where, if they lose this game, they're 100% out of the playoffs basically. They're only 1 game back of the playoffs right now, but there's like 5 plus teams like right all in that like 6-6, 7-5 range. So, they have to win these games. And The Chiefs defense is it feels like they're seeing a little bit of regression coming off last week where Jordan Love basically got whatever he wanted in that game for the Packers last Sunday night. And, Bills coming off a bye, obviously, so they have a little bit more rest than the Chiefs. Mahomes has been, good, but not great like he usually has been. So I'm taking the Bills here. Bengals, Colts coming off two big offensive performances from both teams. Nice offense in this game. I don't like the Colts secondary a lot. I think Browning will get what he wants against them. And then the other way around, I think Minshew will be able to do enough as well. I lean Bengals on the side, but I like the over and I like points a little bit more in this game. And then Ravens cover 7.5. It's more about the Ravens defense than the Ravens offense for me. I think that they shut down the Rams offense and win. I think it's going to be pretty low scoring, but I think they will cover the 7.5 and maybe like a 27-10 type of win, something like that. Those are my three plays for Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, we already talked about the Bills. You mentioned, playoff type atmosphere, playoff type game for them. If they lose, they're essentially out of the race. With that, AFC race getting tighter and tighter for the wild card, and especially in the division. So I do like the Bills, as well. I only have them on the spread, but I like your bold take on the money line as well. I just said playoff game, playoff type environment, especially on Sunday. Bengals, Colts, I like that as well. It's going to be a very high scoring game. It's an Apple Cup 2.0 for all our Washington fans, Gardner Minshew and Jake Browning. I do like these two quarterbacks, sling the ball. As you mentioned, the Bengals defense, we saw how Trevor Lawrence was able to move down the field, before, unfortunately, spraying before his high ankle sprain. And then, the Colts, obviously, we saw how Will Levis was able, slowly, move down the field, especially with Derrick Henry out the backfield. And, we saw how Zach Taylor was able to plan, for Jacksonville. And we expect Zach Taylor to do the same thing for the Colts, just kind of dump down passes, especially, pressure in Browning's face to maybe Joe Mixon and, maybe short passes to T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. So I do like that play as well. And then the Ravens minus 7.5. I think that's a great look as well. We talk about, the Ravens at home, especially against NFC teams. They're one of the best teams to take. They just absolutely dominate. You mentioned it's probably going to be one of the better defensive games for, probably the Ravens. I'd lean just because, we saw how that Seahawks game went, and that was ugly. And, obviously the Seahawks are a better team than what they showed there, but, just very ugly to watch. And, I expect this that line was, I think 7 to 7.5 when, the Ravens were playing the Seahawks at home. And I expect the Ravens to definitely cover that 7.5 point spread, against a maybe as good, maybe a little worse Rams team, at home as well. So I like those plays as well. Those are three plays for Ari for Sunday's slate. I have mine as well. We have a whole big slate. We're going to post all of these plays on our Twitter below at AKP Sports Talk. We will have all of our updated plays for Saturday as well, whether it's my CBB plays or whatever. And then obviously Sunday we'll be having all of our plays that we previously just mentioned posted on our Twitter Saturday night as well for Sunday. But that is going to do it for our episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. That is Ari. I'm Curry. We'll see you guys next time.